Hello, everybody, and welcome to How to Get Into Cybersecurity with No Experience. My name is Gerald Auger, and I will be talking for probably the next 30 minutes or so, covering a whole range of topics that I really feel is important for an audience that is asking themselves this question. And then I'll be open for probably 30 more minutes for a Q&A session, which I really hope is engaging in answering the questions that you have. So let me just dive right into here. I've put a link to the slide deck in the comments below, and I've also dropped it in chat if you're on YouTube watching this. Now, what I want you to do is not worry about any of the resources I call out and all the labs and all the just websites and tools and people that I bring up in this talk, because it's all in the back of the slide deck. I want you to really relax and take this in and just have a great experience together. So let's just dive into this. Before I get into too much, I do want to tell you kind of the scope of what we'll be talking about today. I'm going to be talking about really who's the intended audience, because a lot of people might think it's just college graduates about to enter the workforce, and it's really a much larger audience that I've been interfacing with through my work on the Simply Cyber YouTube channel. And I want to call out those audience members and let them know this talk has application and value to you. We'll be talking about a few truths or myth busting, if you will, for entry-level roles, right? I'm sure some of you out there have run into these already yourself. So I want to be transparent and level set right off the rip about what entry-level means in the cybersecurity industry. Also, I'm going to take a step back and actually help you find your passion. Like if you're running at 50 miles an hour towards a goal, but you don't actually know what the goal is, are you really spending time and energy and effort reaching that goal, or are you just doing something to be busy, right? So we're going to help you find your passion today. Then we're going to spend some serious time talking about certification versus education versus work experience. That is the biggest question that I have encountered with people who are looking for material. Now, all of these things are going to help you understand and answer how to get into cybersecurity with no experience. We're going to build from the ground up. And when you leave this talk, you're going to have all the tools, all the resources, and basically the blueprint to enable yourself to go as far as you want. And then, by the way, I'm going to wrap it up with smart hacks that are absolutely free. Like if you've been following my YouTube channel or you've been working with me networking wise, you know that I am like such an advocate of free resources. Money should not be a barrier for anyone to get into cybersecurity. All right. So, and then open Q&A. It's going to be the best. Before I dig in too, I really want to give a shout out to Dr. Davina Pruitt-Mental. She reached out to me and asked me to give this talk to support National Cybersecurity Career Awareness Week. She's with the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education over at NIST, and really appreciate this opportunity for putting me in contact and doing this. Thank you. So really quick, who am I? Why should you listen to what I'm saying? My name is Gerald Auger. I've been working in cybersecurity for about between 15 and 20 years, kind of, around that frame. I have a PhD in cyber operations from Dakota State University. My undergrad degree and master's are in computer science. So I do come from that technical track. I am ridiculously passionate about cybersecurity, like over the moon for it, which is why I love talking about it. I love engaging in it. I love working in it. I love studying it. So this is my background, and this is why I'm bringing this knowledge to you. So who is this talk designed for? So you're sitting there listening to me talk, and you're like, is this even going to apply? Well, the majority of the cross-section of people that I interface with, it's people who are separating from the military. So you're just about to finish up your commitment and thank you for your service, and you're re-entering the workforce, but you were like a tank mechanic, or you worked in logistics or something, and it's not translating into a civilian life career field, and you're wanting to try cybersecurity. This is a great avenue, and one that you should seriously consider. So I'm talking to you. Also, I encounter a lot of people who are already mid-career in their life, and they were working in finance, or they're working in marketing, or they work at an assembly line in a factory or a plant, and they aren't enjoying life, and they want to do something different. And cybersecurity has so many great opportunities that they want to pivot into it. that is a person that this talk will apply to. And then, the more traditional option is the college graduate. You're just finishing school. You're about to enter the workforce in a really kind of crazy COVID time, and you're not sure where to go or what to work in. And I want to provide this opportunity to show you how you can take cybersecurity and launch a career. So, even though we're in COVID, and despite what you might hear, I'm telling you from first person living this, we are living in the cyber career golden age. I am serious, right? Forbes reported that the cybersecurity market's worth $173 billion. Now, granted, that's not just salaries for staff, right? That's having to do with development and technology and cybersecurity, defensive measures and stuff like that. But here's the thing. All of those appliances, that $173 billion, all that needs cybersecurity practitioners to run them. All of the audits, all of this new legislation that's coming out, GDPR for the privacy side, HIPAA, Sarbanes-Oxley a few years ago, like all of this is tied to securing things. Our world is completely interconnected. Like live for a second without the internet. Like good luck. You can do it, but it's super hard. So all of that needs to be secured. And there is just so many unfilled positions in cybersecurity. And there's such a demand that like you're literally in a position of power if you are working in cybersecurity. So that's why we're living in the golden age. You don't have to worry about not being able to find a job or having to move to a different city and not finding a job. There's just opportunity like through the gills. Okay. Whoops, sorry about that for the mic. Okay, so just know that not only are we going to line up something that kicks butt for you and we're going to find your passion, but there's so much work that you're going to get a job, okay? So this is from the Department of Labor Statistics. I just pulled this. There's a ton of different jobs in the field, but just so we level set here, this is an information security analyst. This is about as generic a title as you're going to get for the field, right? There's information security engineer and analyst. But what I want to call out here is the 2019 median pay. Hold on, if you can't read that, let me help you out. That didn't get much bigger. Geez. So the 2019 median pay is between, like it says around $99,000. I would argue that that's probably skewed because of Silicon Valley pricing and New York City and stuff like that. But, maybe a little less than that, but it is higher than a lot of, kind of standard jobs in the field. They do call out a bachelor's degree as typical entry-level education. We'll talk about that later in the certification education work experience section. It's not necessarily true, but there are barriers that not having the degree will introduce that I'll tell you about. There's a ton of jobs, 131,000 with an employment change of plus 40,000 projected for 2019 to 2029. I suspect that number is way low. As much as I think the salary might be a little high, I think the employment change is low. I think it's going to be way higher than that. Okay. All right, let's go. Entry level, a few truths. All right, so let's pull back the curtain and actually talk about the real deal. Like this isn't going to be like an infomercial where all you hear is like rainbows and cupcakes and unicorns flying around. There's a couple truths. One that you will hear a lot of people talk about, and you may have experienced this yourself already, is that you'll see an entry-level job, like entry-level security analyst must have 5 years of information security experience and a bachelor's degree in computer science and maybe a master's degree, and have CISSP, which is a certification that is like a mid-tier security level certification, requires 5 years. That is not entry level. And here's one of the ugly truths of the industry. All the companies know that they need cybersecurity. Like you're getting financially fined if you are negligent, right, with your security, and ransomware is popping up all over the place. So the businesses need to have it, but they don't want to spend on it, right? So what they say is, let's put the requirements for a mid-tier person, but in order to have the salary pay band mapped to what we want to pay, it has to get identified as entry level. That is one of kind of the gross truths. Now, I want to point out that this is not completely across the industry. I'm just saying there are a percentage of companies that are doing this, and it's unfortunate, right? Because they're not going to get entry-level people. They're going to get mid-tier people who are basically taking a job just to have income. but it kind of screws over people who are entry level trying to figure out the market. So I want you to take that as a reality. If you go to apply for an entry level job and it's not really mapped to an entry level skill set, don't get frustrated. Don't get discouraged. It's probably what I'm telling you about right now. Okay. Another truth that you really need to understand is that InfoSec, information security, cybersecurity, whatever you want to call it. I'm old enough to call it information security, I guess. It is like a specialty within IT. Yes, you don't have to come from IT, but it certainly helps. But like the reason that it's a little bit more of like a couple years of networking experience or a couple years of system administration experience is something you'll often see on entry-level positions. It's because you kind of have to understand how the system is supposed to work, so then you can secure it to keep it from doing what it's not supposed to do, right? So, and we'll address how to get that experience in education. But my point is, there is certain skills that you need. I'm telling you, you need to be able to be successful in cybersecurity. And in my opinion, I could argue with someone over beer. The top of the list is understanding networking. Okay, I'm not talking about being able to sit down and configure a Cisco router or explain to me like what BGP is or, the best routing protocol. It's understanding what IPv4 is. It's understanding like when you ping like a server somewhere and you get a response, like what is kind of happening when you type in Google in a browser and hit enter. On some level, you're understanding what's happening. The OSI network stack, at least the transport and the network layer, you just understanding those fundamental things, in my opinion, is a requirement simply because a lot of cyber attacks involve a network layer stuff. In order to get on your endpoint and ransomware your box or whatever, like it had to get there, and you could see it, find it on the network. If you're doing blue team stuff, defensive things, SOC analyst, you're going to look at network logs. And if you don't have a basic understanding of how a network operates, you're going to be looking at it like it's Greek, right? So I want you to take away, probably grab a notebook and jot down some notes here. Take this away too. Get some foundational information on networking. Okay. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel about networking that's like 15 minutes long that gives you what I think a cybersecurity entry level person needs. Okay. So that's it. And then one other truth, which I don't know why this gets so propagated. I think it's because cyber is so tied into IT, but like you don't need to know how to program. So if you've been like freaking out about like where do you spend your energy and effort, and you're thinking about like diving deep into becoming a programmer or understanding programming, you don't need it. Okay. Like I have a computer science background. I can program. I don't use it that often in my career right now. I used it, to kind of automate some stuff, like make things easier. Yeah. But like I could have done them without that. And sometimes you need to understand how to program so you can like refine a tool that's not working. If you're an offensive pen tester and you're on an engagement, there are times where programming does come up. So it's not like you're an actuarial and like, you're like, well, programming doesn't make any sense. Like, yeah, you can use programming in cybersecurity, but you can have a bomb successful career without understanding programming. You'll probably learn to read code, not write it. Okay. So those are the truths I wanted to share with you. Okay. Keep on going. Let's go big on this one. Okay. I do apologize from a programming note. I was under the impression that this would expand much larger when I opened it up. So I'm sorry. Hopefully you can expand this. I won't spend too much time on this. This is what I want to tell you is I just told you that like having some IT background helps you migrate into a cybersecurity career. If this URL is also in the reference, if you go to the slides, but it's here on the bottom of the slide too. CyberSeek is part of like the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, and they've laid out this kind of blueprint on how you can go from not being in the field into going into the field. Okay. And on the left, you'll see they have feeder roles, and the feeder roles are networking, software development, engineer, financial and risk analysis. There's one that's not IT, so it does happen. And then security intelligence, like an Intel operator, again, not IT. So they're not all IT feeder roles. But what they're saying is one of these fields is a perfect field, if you're in one, to migrate naturally into cybersecurity. If you're not in one of these fields already, then you can begin to focus some of your energy on things in that field if you can't get into cyber right away, okay? It's like a feeder. And then if you go to CyberSeek, there's actually a ton of great information in here. I took 3 slides. I've hovered over system engineering, which is the middle one in the feeder role here. When you go in there, it tells you how many job openings there are. It tells you the type of education you need. Like people who don't have a bachelor's degree versus have a bachelor's degree, what type of certifications are good, and then really what are the top cybersecurity skills to add, right? So you can see they have crypto, InfoSec. Those aren't very useful. I wouldn't call that useful, calling those cybersecurity skills. Like information security is the field, not a specific skill. But anyways, you can see that you can use this resource to help identify areas of opportunity where if you can't get into cyber, you can get into a feeder role that you could consider like the entry level of getting into cyber. So I wanted to share this with you so you didn't lose hope that you're not getting the cyber job and you need to get, you're getting pressure from like your family or whatever to go get a job, or you need to pay your bills. Like if you can't get into cyber immediately, you can get into these feeder roles, which will naturally bring you into cyber. Okay. And then on just the third and final slide here on CyberSeek, they also provide you can click on the particular bubbles and the roles within the tool itself, and it'll give you this information, how many job openings. You can click on that and go look at them. What's the average salary? So you can get perspective, all right? $89,000. That's pretty good. So, and then where you can go from that. So, check it out. I wanted to share it with you, but what I want you to take away from this, besides it being a pretty cool tool, is that you can use it to kind of map out your career. Now we're going to go into something a little bit more detail when I said find your passion, okay? So good fortune is what happens when opportunity meets with planning. The reason I included this Edison quote is because, and I alluded to it earlier, if you don't know where you're going, you don't know how to get there or what to pack or the best route to get there or the most efficient way to spend your time and your money. So what I want to do is show you the sheer breadth of opportunity within the field. So when you're getting into cybersecurity with no experience, you have at least a direction you're pointed. I interview so many people. Like I had an internship program for a while I was running, and I would interview interns and I would say, well, tell me why you want to work in cybersecurity. And like 99% of them would say, oh, I love Mr. Robot. I love hacking movies. Like I want to hack. And like, that's fine. There's a whole field in that. I've got good friends who work in that side of the field. But if you think that that's what cybersecurity is, like it's like a flashlight in a dark room. You're looking at just like this small sliver of what the entire room is, and you're missing so much other opportunity, things that maybe like fuel your passion, or things that have a better opportunity of getting employment gigs and stuff like that. So I want you to be fully armed with all the knowledge of what opportunities there are. This is a slide that Naomi Buckwalter had posted on LinkedIn. I told her every time I use this in a slide deck, I'm going to credit her because it's so good. Can I make this any bigger? No. I want to see if I can make it bigger just to give you guys a little. Nope. Oh, well, sorry. So what I want you to take away from this is, and again, I apologize for how small it is, but oftentimes you hear people talk about, red team, pen testing and stuff like that. You could see pen testing is down here under threat and vulnerability management. It is like 1/100th of the world of information security. Depending on what you're interested in, like what gets you going, what opportunities you might have, you can work inside. You could be like really into math and do crypto type stuff. You can do network security stuff. You like, say you're not even technical, you could do things like awareness training, do security baseline configuration where like you're kind of laying out them. You can do policy development. Here's a relatively new thing that came into the scene about 5 years ago. Actually talking to the business. It used to be that cybersecurity would just like hide under IT and just push down things like they were in an ivory tower. Now cybersecurity is actually talking to the business. They're getting a seat at the board. So being able to talk is actually a valuable skill inside the cybersecurity field. So maybe there's an opportunity there. So I just leave this deck here for you to take a look at and maybe drill into a couple of the areas that are interesting to you. And you can go on and find more information. But what I want you to know is that there is a vast, huge field of different roles within cybersecurity. It is not just pen testing and red teaming. Okay, great. So here is just 4 different jobs within the field. Like I just mentioned, there's a ton. But at the NICCS, which I think if you go to cyber.org, it'll resolve to that too. But the Department of Homeland Security has put this out. There's a bunch of them. There's maybe like 7 or 8 total. But I wanted to show you this, where they have these like infographic slides that outline a role in the field and then give you some context to it. Does it require a degree? What's the salary? What's the job growth? Plus 20%. That's pretty good. Forensics plus 28%. Like, you can start focusing and say, hey, like there's a huge market for digital forensics, which there is, by the way. Like maybe I go get certified on a forensics toolkit like FTK or NCASE, and then you are immediately way more marketable than someone who doesn't have that, especially in digital forensics, which is a field that really requires you to understand one of those 2 tools that I just told you about. Okay, so I leave this as a resource for you to go look at. But what I wanted to tell you is that there is some information here to give you more visibility and context. Yeah, and I'll be addressing the questions in the chat later. So again, what I want you to do is have a plan on where you're going, so then you can execute to it. I'm a huge planner. I'm a huge organizer, structural, and then execute on the mission. All right, so let's talk about the question, the elephant in the room, the question that everybody wants to talk about is certifications versus education versus experience. Now, just on the surface, what I'm going to tell you, I was going to make a slide for it, but I couldn't find a great way to do it, so I figured I'd just tell you. Okay, certifications, you can get them for like, okay, so let's do it this way. Experience you can get for free. Stay tuned. Certifications, nominal cost, right? Couple $100 up to like maybe $1,500. You get some knowledge and you get something that you can jam on your resume. And oftentimes HR will be screening for that. And then education is more expensive, more time, right? So it goes from like low money, as much time as you want, to mid money, a low amount of time. And then education is like a lot of money and a lot of time. So people will say, there's a lot of successful people who work in cybersecurity that do not have a college degree. I know several. Okay, so it is not a requirement to get a cyber job. I would argue that certifications and experience are the most important. Certifications, because that's what gets you the interview. I'm sorry to say, like, unless you know someone and you have an inside line on something, in order to get through screeners, in order to qualify, as I mentioned earlier, with these unrealistic job recs, you need to have a certification, okay? And usually there's specific ones related to whatever the job is, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then experience. If you have hands on keyboard, if you can tell an employer, I've done that, they're more likely to hire you because A, I don't have to train you, and B, you've seen it. You know what it feels like you've got time in the saddle. That is invaluable, okay? And then education, as I mentioned already. Check out this graphic. Again, this is in the show notes, okay? This is a fantastic graphic. We're going to spend a minute on this one. So the way you want to look at this is from the bottom going up is amount of experience. Okay, so entry level, novice, and then above novice. Left to right are vertical columns by kind of industry, not industry, like vertical segment within the cybersecurity industry. So you can see we've got the blue team doing defensive ops, the red team doing offensive ops. Orange is engineering, which might be things like running firewalls or, kind of managing endpoint security or MDM or something like that. Then we've got analysis, architecture for building stuff, and management, because everything's got to have management, all right? So what I want you to use this slide for is you've already kind of found your passion, right? Hopefully you're using the resources I'm showing you, and you found your passion. You're into forensics, right? 28% job growth, $77,000 annual salary. You like digging into things. You love detective shows. Forensics is what you're going to do. Dynamite. Guess what? Here are all the forensics. Here's the forensics column within blue. And here's the certs. You don't have to get them, but they will help you. What this thing tells you is if you got a CISA cert, that's an auditor cert, that is not going to help you get a forensics job. So don't spend your time or your money or your cycles fretting about that. This literally gives you a certification roadmap to go get certs that will help you right away. And by the way, it sets realistic expectations, because if you're entry level and you're looking at like the CSFA, probably not a good fit, right? You probably need to go to Security Plus, which is a great entry level cert. You can see it like pretty much across the board here. So again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. During the Q&A, if you want, I'll bring this back up and we can talk about it. But this is a dynamite resource. Thank you. Thank you to the individual on Reddit who posted it, because I reference it like all the time. You can see the URLs here, but it's also in the show notes. All right. Again, with certification, now you know what cert you want to get, right? You use this mapped and you figured out what cert you may or may not want to get to help you get that job with no experience. And how do you get it though, right? So you can do self-study with a book, but if you have no experience, you might not have context, right? So one of the ways that you can shortcut this method is called taking a boot camp, right? Various boot camps can have different value. Your mileage may vary, so check with someone who's already taken a boot camp. But I'm highlighting the CyberBytes Foundation one right here. CyberBytes is out of Quantico, Virginia. They are a fantastic organization. I believe they're a nonprofit. I attest to them. I vouch for them. They offer, as part of their overall, public offering, basically, certification boot camps. And you can see I've highlighted two specific ones here that I wanted to call your attention to. By the way, I think these are fairly affordable. They're like 5 days, maybe $1,000, $999. But if you can shortcut something for a price, I mean, that's the benefit of shortcutting it, right? Two that I want to call out is the Network Plus and the Security Plus, okay? I told you earlier, it's non-negotiable. You have to understand how a network works in a basic foundational level, fundamental level. You have to understand IPv4 and at least the transport and network layer, if not the entire OSI stack, okay? Network Plus is going to give you that. I'm not saying you need the Network Plus certification. I'm not entirely sure the value of it for a cybersecurity role, but getting the knowledge in the boot camp is probably more valuable to me if I have no experience than the actual certification. Then we've got the Security Plus, okay? This is widely considered by most people in the industry the entry-level certification. You do not need experience. You can take it. I think it's a couple $100 to sit for the exam. You don't need to go to a boot camp, although it will give you that context and structure and make sure that you cover everything and help you with terms and concepts you don't understand yet. This is a great option, okay? And I know that different boot camps charge different amounts. Some are very expensive. Like I said, I know CyberBytes, and I know it's around $1,000, I believe. And I stand by them enough to share it with you all, okay? I have no financial affiliation with them whatsoever, okay? So boot camps can help you shortcut the certification, a requirement on some job requirements. Okay, now let's talk to the graduates, or if you're considering going to get a bachelor's degree, okay? There's different, I put a tale of two cities because there's two different trains of thoughts. I mean, this isn't a super divisive topic in the information security industry, but it is one. Like I said, I know so many people without a bachelor's degree that are awesome at cybersecurity. I know people with a master's degree who couldn't get out of their own way. Okay, so having a degree does not directly correlate to your ability to execute in cybersecurity. That's first and foremost. Now, what I will tell you is two things. One, getting a bachelor's degree will open doors for you. Okay, this is just a reality. You can be successful, and if you go down a very, very like pen tester type track, like something that's super hands-on and like real skill, like almost like consider it like a trade, right? Like plumbing or electrician or something like that. Like you can develop a trade within the cybersecurity industry and you'll never need a bachelor's degree. You will run into issues though, where you try to get promoted, you try to get more salary, you try to, take advantage of some opportunity. and the organization will give you like the Heisman because you don't have a bachelor's degree, which they've considered or qualified as a requirement. Joe Hudson is in the audience right now, and Joe might be able to speak to this. I don't know if there's a shift in the industry, but from what I've seen and what I've heard through my 20 years, that is it's like I hate to use the term glass ceiling, but it's like a transparent ceiling that will keep you from achieving certain goals if you don't have a bachelor's degree. It's a huge commitment, right? You can get like 4 years. I think there's some programs you can get them faster, but it's not going to necessarily equate to more value. The other thing about a bachelor's degree that I would highlight is that it prepares you for writing, which is going to be important in cybersecurity because you need to be able to effectively communicate to both the business and to customers. You need to highlight certain things. So effective communication and a work regimen, work ethic, right? If maybe you've already got one and that's great, but having that routine of like having your own self-accountability, responsibility for, going to classes, getting good grades, like no one's managing you, but you, those kind of soft skills, some people need them, and the bachelor's degree can help you. Now, having said all that, you don't need to divert your cybersecurity career for 4 years to go get a bachelor's degree. Maybe you want to go get a bachelor's degree just to hide from COVID for a little bit in the industry and stuff like that. But don't think it's a requirement. Okay. All right. Keep on trucking. All right. So now hands-on keyboard. Let's talk about experience. I think experience is super, super valuable because as I already mentioned, it shows you can do it. You have experience. And this is probably one of the most important things to say on your resume, because if you have no experience, it feels like your resume is like a barren wasteland where you're like, oh my God, there's so much white space. What do I put here? I'll just do size 30 font. No, by doing the things that we're about to talk about, you can craft your resume in such a way to include tool sets that you've used, concepts that you've experienced, or frameworks that you've reviewed and analyzed. You can include clients that you may have worked at if you're doing bug bounty type stuff. There is a whole, no one's really talking about this, but there's like an entire opportunity, like an art form of realizing labs and free training and experience that you can bump right into your resume. And by the way, put in those keywords so you can get through HR and actually get to a hiring manager who is the person who's looking for staff and will know what the hell you're talking about. So work experience is good, and having home labs. So if you get a lab, labs can be prohibitive because owning the hardware is expensive. Configuring it could be confusing for you. But in the world of cloud computing, there is so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity that, you can take advantage of it for absolutely free. Now, a friend of mine, Stefan Wohlvogel, published this. And again, download the slides so you can see this. This is a helpful tools, websites, and apps for the blue side. The blue side is the defensive side. There are things in here like Cyber Defense Lab and Challenge, Boss of the SOC. Like Blue Team is actually a little bit harder to lab up and get hands-on experience because of the complexity of it. So, but there are tools out there. So I strongly encourage you to check this out. I've actually started doing a series of videos on my YouTube channel highlighting all of these. And some of them I've already done just by virtue of having done them already, like malware traffic analysis here. But these are the things, if you wanted to do Blue Team, right? Forensics, SOC analyst, incident response. These are the labs and tools and the resources that you could do, that you could beef out your resume so strong that you had no experience. Well, guess what? Now you have a lot of experience without having had the job in cybersecurity yet, because that's always the catch-22. How do I get experience in cybersecurity if I don't have a job in cybersecurity? How do I get the job without the experience? It's frustrating. Well, guess what? The answer is you get the experience and then you can get the job, unless your cousin owns the company and then you're in like Flint, right? But not all of us get that. Here's the Blue Team side. Stefan was kind enough to put together a red one too. So on the red one, you can see that we've got some YouTube channels like the Cyber Mentor, Heath Adams. He has excellent content. I'll highlight a couple more in a minute here, but you can use things like AWS which is what I do. These are just some of the videos in my YouTube library, but I use AWS, Amazon Web Services, to build out free cybersecurity labs to test and learn concepts. So just recently on the top right there, the Juice Shop one and the WebGoat one, I just did that last week. Those are web application security platforms that you can build on Amazon's infrastructure for $0, get the experience, learn the concepts, have time in the saddle, know what it looks like from an offensive perspective and a defensive perspective, and then put that on your resume. Talk about it in your interviews. I'm telling you, this is going to make you A, stand out from other candidates, and B, really, really give you the confidence to be able to go in and talk about what you know instead of like cramming in the parking lot of cybersecurity material, hoping that you get asked a question about that in the interview. No, you will be empowered and you won't have a problem. I'm telling you, you just got to put in the work, right? I mean, that's the deal. That you can't just take a pill. This isn't Limitless or whatever that movie was called. So not to just, promote myself, because there are tons of really, really good content creators out there. And I'm telling you, YouTube is a bomb for this type of content. We've got Network Chuck up there, Stoke on the right, Hackersploit, and Nullbyte, just to name a few. These are real leaders in the cybersecurity, free education sharing, expert in the community. So I encourage you to check it out. If people on the stream know of other people who are putting out great content, drop it in the stream so other people in the audience can get that, and and I can get that and share with each other. I see someone posted an updated certificate progression chart, so thank you to that user who did that. But tons of great content. Now, if labs isn't your speed and you're more of a kind of a textbook person and you want to read, the Attack IQ Academy offers free education, multiple tiered learning paths. So they have one on MITRE ATT&CK, which is becoming, thankfully, more and more prominent in the cybersecurity industry. It's getting taken seriously. If you don't know what MITRE ATT&CK is, very, very high level. It's a taxonomy of the potential attack vectors that threat actors are doing. Basically, what it allows you to do is A, verify that your defensive tools are actually mapped into things, and it allows you to simulate particular offensive threats. But the thing is, people are using it. So if you have MITRE ATT&CK on your resume, right? How did you get that? How did you know that? Oh, I did this 3-class thing. I got it. They give you a certificate. Like, this is power. So you can get into MITRE ATT&CK and understand that. They have another one on purple teaming as well. They have one on Fin9, I think. So they have a couple right now, but I would encourage you to at least check out the MITRE ATT&CK one and see what it's about and if it interests you, because it's got value. And by the way, the cost is free. It's just your commitment to wanting to get a job in cybersecurity and your self-discipline to see it through, right? To do the classes, to take notes, to learn, right? There's no shortcut. That's something you should take away. There's no shortcut, right? You got to put in the work if you want to reap the rewards. Another excellent resource is DFIR Diva. Now, she does post a lot of content specifically on digital forensics and incident response, which is what DIFR stands for, but she puts other stuff there. Her website, I think, is dfirdiva.com. It's in the show notes or in the reference slide. But I mean, she's posting like webcast conferences, tools, free resources. I was doing this myself on my GitHub page, but she is doing it so much better and so much wider that I now just want to push people to her for like content and stuff like that. Now, here's something that my friend Paul Imey from Cybersecurity Security told me a couple months ago, and I thought it was brilliant, and I wanted to add it to this talk. Okay, so this is my friend John Helmuth. This is John's blog, okay? Medium is a format, medium.com. It's a blog hosting company. It's free to sign up, set up a blog. Now, Jerry, I'm trying to get a job in cybersecurity. I don't have time to be blogging. Okay, check this out. As you're going through the labs, as you're attending conferences, put a blog post. Why? Here's the reason why. I guarantee you, when you go in for a job interview, someone who's in that room that's interviewing you has probably Googled you. Most of the times it's like, oh, what are they doing on social media? Are they kind of scary? Or they have like, whatever views? But when they Google you and this comes up, now they get to like basically, what's it called? Like voyeurism on you. Oh my gosh. Okay. So like this is them when they're writing and what they're doing when they're not trying to impress me. They're not putting on their best face to get this job. This is who they are. What this would tell me is if you had a blog and you were posting, and by the way, it doesn't matter if someone else has already blogged about it or you're doing the first level hack in the box and it's been solved a million times. It doesn't matter. You're capturing that you're interested in cybersecurity. You're documenting what you have done, which further fleshes out your resume. And as I mentioned before, it shows your writing style and capability. Yeah, I mean, if you're writing it sloppy with spelling mistakes and stuff, maybe a blog's not best move for you. But if you're seriously writing it, it's going to show someone what your writing style is and your professionalism and some of those soft skills that really are just kind of expected from business professionals, right? So it gives you an opportunity to flesh out your resume. Your resume is one-dimensional. The interview is what gives you three-dimension. This will allow you to get a third dimension before you've even gotten into the interview. And I guarantee you it will sell you as a better candidate because you're obviously showing commitment and interest in the field outside of getting the job, right? I do want to highlight conferences. Networking is huge. Like 50% of jobs in general in cybersecurity go to some, like they never posted because like cybersecurity is a small community. If I need to hire someone, I'm going to think of my cybersecurity professional network first before I post the job and go through interviews and all that. And that's just the reality. So if you start building your network, you can begin to find like-minded cybersecurity people. You can find out about opportunities. You know, like that's part of the gig, right? You can't just live behind a computer in a bubble and not talk to anyone. Like social engagement is part of the game. You can do it if you're introverted. You can still successfully get into cybersecurity. I'm not saying you have to go to conferences, but this helps you, right? We're talking about how do I get in with no experience? You can go to a conference for free. No one checks your qualifications to get into a conference, I assure you, right? So you can go there. A, you can learn new content and material. B, you can meet other people. And C, you can find employers. A lot of times employers are walking around with like a little name tag that says, I'm hiring. Like literally, you can just walk up to them and be like, hi, like I'm looking for a job. Okay, so let's talk. And by the way, you're at a security conference. You've already implicitly told me you're interested in the field. It's not just a job. It's something you're interested in. So boom, right? All right, check out conferences. This is B-Sides listing. You can find security conferences in your area. A lot of them, because of COVID, are free right now. And you can get, like, they're free and they're virtual. So like you have no reason you can't get to them, right? A lot of them are on replay. But if you do it live, there's typically like a Discord, which is like Slack if you're not familiar with Discord, but it's like a online chat feature thing where people who are attending the conference are all chatting with each other. Usually the recording, the talks are recorded, pre-recorded. So then the speaker's actually in the chat responding to questions live, unlike me right now, who's just like spewing live at my screen. So check out conferences. Huge, huge win, huge bonus, multiple dimensions of value for you. And if you know me, I love NIST. So I didn't want to limit NIST or remove NIST here. So especially since they're partially hosting this talk. Cybersecurity, there's a whole governance, risk, and compliance world out there, okay? It's not all about hands-on tech and defending from attacks live or perpetrating attacks live. There is a risk piece to it. And I wanted to call your attention to the NIST cybersecurity framework because it's called NIST CSF by some people, but this is getting adopted widely across multiple industries, across multiple countries. And if you're not into the tech side and you're more into the governance risk side, then I'd recommend you strongly familiarize yourself with the cybersecurity framework. There's tons of talks on it. NIST gives them themselves. But basically, it's a framework on how you can build out a security capability at an organization and mature it over time. With focus on outcomes of basically preventing attacks or limiting the impact and damage that they impart upon your organization. Okay, so much love for NIST. All right, I love NIST. And of course, I have my GitHub page. I mentioned earlier that DFIR Diva. She has great like content on conferences and stuff, but I've also curated a bunch of things here, like on training. There's actual, check this out, like literal college courses that are free So if you wanted to like get some education, but you didn't want to pay for a bachelor's or go for it, you can attend things at Stanford, Georgia Tech, NYU. I forget the other, there's a couple of other schools, Washington. So there's content out there. Again, free, so free. All right. So I didn't put a link to this, but if you Google GitHub Jerry Guy 311, which is like my online handle before I got professional, you'll find that. Okay. And then a note on resumes. This is partly part of my resume, but I just wanted to highlight when you're building out your resume, right? Make sure, like, take time to think about, hopefully you've already kind of focused on an area in cyber that you're interested in. So make sure that that summary or your objective or goal maps to that, and include those labs that you did and the skills you've learned and the talks you've seen, volunteer at a conference, and then, put that on there, like showing for me personally, showing your involvement in the cybersecurity industry is a huge plus, because it shows that it's a career to you. It's not a job. And just make sure that you really captured those things. Also, if you work in an IT role and you're doing a career shift, take some time and actually think about things that you've done that are security related, right? So you may not think about like configuration management as InfoSec. You may not think about procurement as InfoSec. You may not think about what's another good one, Jerry? Whatever. There's tons of things within IT, or access control. That's what I was thinking of. You can parlay that into security related language. Like, you have done things in my IT network administrator capacity. I hardened network security devices, right? Like, that might've been part of your job, but it is a security function. So make sure you're really thinking about the security roles, sub-elements that you've done, and include that, like, as far as beefing up your resume, because I feel like a lot of people get wrapped around the axle of, how do I make this resume, which is what is representing me, how do I make it good and get it into the right person's hands? That's how you do it. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. I'm going to open it up for Q&A here. I know I went a little long, but I felt like I was on a good path there. Let's bring me up. Hey, me. Okay, so let's open it up to Q&A. Queue up your questions. I'll go through them right now, and we'll knock it out. And thank you, by the way, for attending the first half of the talk. So much pleasure and so much love for all of you in this community. Let's see what the questions are. Will this be viewable later? Now, that's an easy one. Jalen, absolutely. This will be available on my YouTube channel, Simply Cyber. If you go find it, I'll probably cut this up and then put minute markers so you guys can just jump to the actual sections of the talk. But yeah, absolutely be viewable. If we're not connected, Jalen, just connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll make sure that you get that link, okay? Can you throw some light on CISA, Cert, and the 27001 lead auditors, please? Yeah, thanks, Anmal. So real quick, CISA is the ISACA Certified Information Systems Auditor. And I have this certification. I was an auditor for several years. It's good if you're into it. When you take that exam, well, a couple things. One, the CISA is a cert that you will see on job qualifications for auditor roles. I think it's a valuable cert. I think it's appropriate, and it maps to what the actual role is and the functions that you would need to do to be able to be an effective auditor. The 27001 lead auditors, I can't speak to. I don't have familiarity with this. I will tell you this, though, Enmal. I've been in, unless you're in Europe, I would focus more on CISA versus 27001, because I don't see a lot of 27001 compliance related or security frameworks, right? I see NIST CSF, as I mentioned earlier. I see, CIS 20 for less mature organizations. So unless you're in Europe, I wouldn't spend the time and cycles on the 27001, because I'm not sure what the marketability of it is. Okay. I'm currently studying for CCNA and Linux Essentials, and my goal is to get the role of malware analyst. Is this the right direction? I do not have a degree in computer science. Okay, so Israel, this is a good question. So CCNA is a Cisco-specific networking certification, and Linux Essentials is understanding Linux. So a couple things. One, I would actually argue that most malware is written for Windows systems. Windows have the majority of the corporate footprint in the world. So a lot of times malicious threat actors will develop malware for the Windows operating system. So Linux is good to know because a lot of tools and distributions are built on Linux. But as far as getting into malware analysis, you may want to study a little bit more on like the Windows side of things and the Windows libraries and things like that. Also, just as a thing, you might want to check out any.run. That is a website. It's basically a virtual sandbox that allows you to run malware, but you can also like look at detonated malware that was malware like Emotet or Ryuk or something like that. So if you wanted to get some familiarity with like what malware looks like and do some analysis. Also, if you really want to get into it, this is taking it to the next level. Get a familiarity with assembly language and check out my buddy Josh Stroshine. He went through the PhD program with me, and he has a YouTube channel, and all he does is disassemble malware. Like that's all he does, and he's really good at it. So check him out. Okay, let's see. I'm going to try to do this rapid fire, by the way. Hi, Gerald. I have a BA with 1 semester left in a master's in international security. I have an OSCP, and I have no idea what I should apply for if I need to apply to an entry-level job. Okay, so Tito, a couple things. One, congratulations on completing your BA and about to finish your master's. I would definitely tell you to continue to finish that. I don't know. I've never heard international security, so I don't know if that's like global policy type things like national security, or if it's an actual information security related discipline. Having said all that, what I will say is you have the OSCP, okay? The OSCP is, for those of you who don't know, it is the Offensive Security Certified Professional, and it is considered, find me a red teamer who disagrees with this, it is considered by far the classiest, goldest, shiniest certification that you can get on the offensive security side of things. So if you have that certification, you definitely aren't going to be looking for an entry-level job. And if it were me, I'd be going pen testing with that. Like you should know that with that certification. If you have it, definitely go get it, dude. You can get like 6 figures with that background. So get into it. Let me connect with me, and I have friends that are red teamers. I can connect you and maybe get you an interview or something like that, or at least point you in the right direction. Okay. Just send me a message or connect with me on LinkedIn and just tell me it was you with the Masters in International Security. Okay. That's awesome. OSCP, by the way. That's a really challenging certification. Looks like Joe Hudson is dropping some knowledge here. Certs and training carrying so much weight these days. Okay, so Joe's just dropping some knowledge. Joe is a friend of mine. He's also a cybersecurity recruiter. So whatever he's saying about job hunting and stuff is absolute. Take it as fact. Okay. Looks like a LinkedIn user actually included an updated cybersecurity certification roadmap. I appreciate that. I'll actually start using that one. I didn't realize there was an update. So thank you for that. Let's see. Looks like Joe says in response to something I said during the live stream here, I think the candidate pool is starting to help make a push towards shifting away from degree requirements within security, but we aren't quite there yet. Yeah, if you think about it for a second, who's making the decisions? It's kind of the older people, right? And there's a cultural institution around the value of a bachelor's degree and what that means in corporate America. So I think that that's part of the reason that the cultural shift has taken some time. They still help, but mostly required by HR, of course, right? Some managers would love to hire someone and they can't. That's a dang shame. It's a dang shame that you can't hire the right person you want because of something like that. LinkedIn user says Western governors can allow you to blast through a bachelor's degree and get that degree, kind of hit that checkbox and get out of there. Okay, let's see. Tracy asks, what's your opinion on the Cisco CyberOps as an entry-level cert as opposed to Sec Plus or SSCP? So, Tracy, I'll have to tell you, maybe people in the show can comment on this, but I'm not familiar with the Cisco CyberOps. I will tell you, for entry-level certs, Security Plus is definitely considered widespread industry standard as the entry-level certification. So I would focus your energy there. When you say Cisco CyberOps, it makes me think or curious whether or not that's specific to Cisco hardware. And if you're starting to like niche down into a specific solution or vendor, then you're eliminating the capability for that to have value at different organizations, right? Because you go to a place that's like an Aruba shop or Fortinet shop, and all of a sudden your hard work and degree don't count. SSCP, I want to give a shout out to that. That is under ISC squared. That was a fun certification, to be honest with you. I liked it. It is, it has value, but I made a video about this on my YouTube channel. If you're going to get that one over Security Plus, it's going to have less marketability through the HR process, because a lot of people are going to put Security Plus instead of SSCP as a requirement. But in the federal government, the DoD 8570, which is this matrix of certifications that you have to hold certain jobs, the SSCP actually ticks the box on a couple different, checks the box on a couple boxes, right? So you could technically get the SSCP and get a couple different jobs without having to go get another certification. So there is value in the SSCP in that way. I can't speak to the Cisco CyberOps. Maybe someone in the chat can. Okay. Emmanuel, thank you for the great content. Thank you for the comment. I love hearing so much. I love hearing people say that they're getting value out of this. Rolanda, keep it going. Keep it going. We got a shameless plug here. I appreciate the shout out here, which I plan on attending. Okay. Hey, so let's just take a minute here and talk about this for a second. John Strand is, he's the owner of Black Hills Information Security Group. And if you don't know Black Hills Information Security, get to know him. John Strand is easily one of the top 2 like best presenters, best conference speakers, great personality, great attitude, loves giving back to the community. And Black Hills as a company embodies that attitude. Like Black Hills is awesome, and they do tons and tons of free training and free webinars. So just Google Black Hills Information Security, and they'll come up and you'll see all the trainings. Like on the top right, you'll see those trainings and stuff like that. See if I can even do that while we're talking here. So check that out. Yep, John is the man, Joe. All right, so Lincoln user, we got another shameless plug. It's the SOC training with John Strand, right? So let me just do this really quick, okay? Like we're doing this live. I'm doing the best I can. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this, and let's do that. So this is Black Hills Information Security website, right? It's blackhillsinfosec.com. If you go to training, these are the trainings. These are awesome. SOC core skills, getting started in security with MITRE. I mentioned MITRE earlier, right? Applying what you do with Purple Team. I talked about free Purple Team learning earlier. I'm telling you, really, the folks at Black Hills are just an absolute treasure to the cybersecurity community. Okay, so let me remove that. Whoa, I kind of went too quick there. Okay, so we had a question here. I really jumped ahead by accident here. All right, so we got a question here about cloud security. So here is something that I would share with you, and like I didn't highlight this in the talk, but right now there is a massive shift in the corporate world, right, to move to cloud. Tons of tech startups are building on AWS or Google Compute. Securing the cloud, whether it's Azure, Google, is really, really different than securing infrastructure, right? So, hold on one second. So, I would strongly encourage you, if you're interested, if you're young and you've got a lot of career left, I would strongly encourage checking out cloud security, because it's a different animal altogether, and more organizations are getting into cloud. So having the skill to secure cloud is huge. It's really around access and permissions and control and stuff like that versus really kind of the infrastructure and traditional securing things. So it's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up, LinkedIn user, because it is a massive area of opportunity within the industry. So I kind of jumped down here a little bit. I want to make sure that we're getting all this. We got comment here, blogging adds credibility. I can't agree anymore. What's the name of the site for making the blogs? So the one that I referenced is Medium, M-E-D-I-U-M, Medium, I believe, .com. So maybe I can, Medium John, there we go. Check it out. So this is John's site, but you can see it's Medium, right? Medium.com. So check it out, free to sign up. And you can just get going. And you can even put it on your resume. It's yet another thing to put on your resume, right? Like if the goal was to like fill your resume with great content and not fluff, this is another way to do it. Okay, great presentation. Thank you, Karen. Thank you. I am so passionate. It's redonkulous when it comes to cybersecurity. Oh no, lost sound. Hopefully, hopefully that's not the case. OSCP versus eCPPT. All right, so I will tell you this. I kind of alluded to it earlier. I am not familiar with the eCPPT, so if there's a pen tester on the chat, check it out. OSCP, hands down, considered the best cert in the offensive security realm today. It's the most marketable. It's the most recognized. It has the most street credit with actual offensive security people. I'll also point out, since it gets mentioned quite a bit, not to throw shade, but like the CEH, the Certified Ethical Hacker offered by EC Council, is considered one of the entry-level offensive security certifications. It is not really well respected within the offensive security practitioner space, but it is a certification that's often included by HR on job postings. So there is some value for you to get the interview, but I wouldn't walk around telling people in the industry about like say anything about it, because it's just like people throw shade at it. And I want you to know about that. Okay. Let's see. What are your thoughts on WGU's cybersecurity program? Well, thanks for the kind words about my channel. I don't know much about Western governors. I know a couple people who have done it. Rob Fuller, who's goes by Mubix. I'm pretty sure he went through the bachelor's in the cybersecurity program. He might have some feedback. You could ping him. He's kind of a big personality within the cybersecurity industry. But I can't give anything definitive. I haven't heard one way or the other about it. Jordan's done some cybersecurity specialization courses, many on Coursera. Would companies hire me with these certificates? So that's a good question for Joe Hudson to address. I would definitely include it on your resume. The way I like to do coursework is I'd actually like to say cybersecurity, formal cybersecurity coursework, and then like list out the classes. That's a good way to do it. I don't know, like if having the coursework and the certification are necessarily going to map, but definitely include, if you've taken specific coursework, either the course title, or you can say Coursera course title. Right now, this isn't the purpose of the talk, but I'm telling you right now, there's a major shakeup in higher education and just the industry in general, where things like Udemy and Coursera are supplanting the traditional matriculating student going to campus and going through a formal higher education program. So definitely include the coursework at least, if not, say multiple certificates with Coursera in cybersecurity. Make it something that you want to talk about in the interview, okay? I already answered that one. I'm sorry. All right, let's go. OSCP helps get a job quickly. Joe's weighing in there. It's gold and shiny. All right. What if you're a lawyer who has 8+ years of experience in system security and network exploitation? All right. Well, you are a unicorn, and there's a lot of value for you. So I actually, strangely, have a very good friend who's also a lawyer who had about 4 years of incident response and kind of risk program management. He went on to go work in cybersecurity. He went on to go work in law, but his focus, his niche, all the work that comes to him is IT related. So, what I would encourage you to do, because you're going to get paid well as a lawyer. I kind of make the assumption. What I would go on and do is go work and focus on the legal part of IT. So there's so much like shared services and, agreements and interfaces and data. Think about how valuable data is right now with things like Cambridge Analytica and all, like the way Facebook makes their money and Google, like all of that data science stuff. It's all about having access to data. So how is that data gotten, right? It's through agreements and terms. And you need lawyers who understand the technical jargon, because most lawyers, unlike you, most lawyers don't understand anything technical, right? Like email might be the extent of it. So you have a very special skill set that it gives you the capability to really get in there and be able to provide that IT security perspective and really shape really good legal documents. That's what I would do. That's what I would encourage. I feel like if you go the cybersecurity track specifically, you might not be leveraging that legal part unless you wanted to go into like digital forensics, but since you're network exploitation and system security, it doesn't look like that's the case. So hopefully you love being a lawyer and that's why you went and got that. But that's what I would do if I were you. Okay. You mentioned briefly transitioning from a non-IT career into a cyber role. Can you recommend a good starting job position that someone can start in without going bankrupt, starting as a help desk person making 40K? Yeah, this is tricky. This is tricky. So yeah, it's tricky. What I would say for something like this is you really, it's hard. Okay. So you'll probably have to take a pay cut. I don't know about having to start at the help desk, because if you have worked in corporate America already, you said non-IT career. So I don't know if you have worked like in a professional organization setting, but if you have, then you bring that kind of experience, potential leadership, management type stuff. So you have kind of soft skills that someone who's coming directly out of college as a 22-year-old may not have. And you can use that to kind of spin things. So what I would kind of encourage is do two things. One, get some of this training, get some of this experience, beef up your resume, and then kind of tie it around the experience of being like a seasoned professional and kind of start spinning that way. Maybe looking for, a manager role if you've had any management experience in the past, managing like a small team of cybersecurity people. That way you're managing, but you can like kind of lean on the experience and expertise of the people who you're managing until you get kind of spun up and then move on and find your passion. I guess that's kind of like the trick to shortcut getting work experience to be able to get to the salary you want. Okay. Good question, Adam. Thank you. Felicia's got a question here. Do you advise to wait until one has a particular cert or attend conferences or complete labs before applying for a cybersecurity job if you have no real world experience? So, I mean, you can apply to the jobs for sure, Felicia. And I think your chances improve dramatically as you begin to do these things. Now, one smart hack that I would recommend is, say you're going to go for the Security Plus, okay? Put it on your resume under your certifications, not lying, you're not lying, but schedule it. Like, so if you're going to get serious about it, schedule it. Say, like, what's today, November 20th or 12th or whatever. So let's say it's January 1st, right? You're going to schedule it for the new year. Put on your resume, Security Plus, anticipated date, January 1st. Now, what this does is it gets through like auto screening and gets you to the hiring manager. B, it's a talking point. Hey, like, oh, I see you're studying for Security Plus. Yeah, absolutely. Boom, boom, boom. I've got a talking point. I'm showing commitment. I understand what the cert is and why I'm doing it. So you can do that. With the labs, you can't do that because you literally have to get time in the saddle with that. With conferences, I don't know if you would be putting conferences on a resume anyways. So attending those or not attending those, I don't think that should preclude you from applying for any jobs. But yeah, definitely go for it. Start getting a feel for it. I know a lot of people get a burnout from applying. I've started seeing a lot of messages on LinkedIn of people, getting burned out from filling out the same forms over again and applying and applying and applying. So, so be careful with that. But yeah, go for it. I'd really encourage you to start finding your passion, start directing your efforts and your energy into that. Does cybersecurity field favor certain degrees for those who do have one, or can you have a degree as long as you have certs and experience in place? That's a good question. So I would say, my first blush is that cybersecurity favors computer science degrees and sometimes MIS degrees, management information systems. But then the more I think about it, that is shifting so much. Like I have a computer science degree, and all it does is give me the capability to pick up something faster. It doesn't stop me from it. Like not having it doesn't stop you from picking it up. It might just take longer. Okay. And some people are just naturally gifted and they pick it up like nothing. But that's really the difference. So if you have a bachelor's degree in finance and then you're doing labs and doing experience and doing all this, you can get that cybersecurity job. No one, and another thing, by the way, since we're talking about it, like where you get your degree from, unless you're going to MIT or Harvard or Stanford or Yale, it doesn't really matter. Like I can't think of a time I've ever been in an interview or something like that and sat down and someone's like, oh, they got their degree from here. Like, no, like most people don't even put where their degree's from on their resume. It's just, I have a bachelor's in finance. I have a bachelor's in computer science. So don't overpay for an education unless you absolutely dead set on going to that school. Okay. So that's what I say about that. Hopefully that answered your question. We got, oh my God, this comment thing moves wicked fast. Artie Flores. Thanks for attending, Artie. I obtained my Sec Plus, but working on the CompTIA CISA Plus, is this cert worth getting? Yeah, I would agree. Like, so that is a security analyst one. It's a little bit more of the hands-on stuff. I don't think you should wait to start applying for jobs until you get that. Do that trick I just told you, where you put when you're projecting to get the CYSA and start acting like you already have it. If Joe's still in the audience, I'd be curious what percentage of employers are asking for that certification. I've seen an uptick recently for that certification being mentioned and acknowledged as like a good kind of entry level related, slightly above entry level certificate. But yeah, I guess the short answer is, Artie, I would continue working towards it because it will help you. It does have value, but I don't think you should wait to get it to start trying to get those jobs or spending cycles on, labs or efforts that will be specific to whatever the role is that you're looking for. Let's see. Thank you. This is very, very helpful. Well, thank you. This is like just as fun for me. I'm loving this. Hard to compare OSCP and eCPPT, but they complement each other. OSCP wins for recognition. Oh, well, thank you to the LinkedIn user who commented on that. I appreciate that. Mention the Clark portal and the cybersecurity training offered there. It's free and developed with the NSA approval. Yeah, so I'm not familiar. I think that's on my GitHub page. I'm not entirely sure, but let's just take a look really quick. Of course, Clark portal, whoever mentioned that, if they had any experience using it, I'd be curious if they could share what their experience was, since I'm not familiar with it. So we're just going to drop this boy right here. This looks like what it is. This is the Clark portal. We're doing this live. I've never been here. Let's see. Oh yeah, look at all this good stuff. Whoever shared this, thank you. So they've got a kind of a wide swath of different things, a lot of machine learning things. Yeah, warrant requirements in cyberspace. Yeah, so this I don't know what NSA NCCP is, if that's a certification that they're doing. Looks like it's a filter that was applied here, but yeah, definitely worth checking out. Thank you for sharing that, whoever shared that. What does an InfoSec employee do? Like, what exactly is your job? Well, thank you. That's a fun question. So it's not an easy question to ask, honestly, Tanishk, if I said that correctly. So there, as I mentioned at the beginning of this talk, there are so many different jobs and roles within the information security. So to say, what does an InfoSec employee do? It's very difficult to answer that, right? So you could be a pen tester who is getting dropped into a client engagement where you're physically going to penetrate into their data center and stick a USB drive in. That's like Monday. Or you could be a digital forensics person who gets just a box of hard drives mailed to them that was recovered from the scene of a crime or from an accident, like a sunk boat, and you're just in a lab by yourself in a windowless room with a droning of an air conditioner, just doing dead disk data recovery. So the spectrum really changes. I'll just tell you for myself, in my day job, when I'm not doing Simply Cyber YouTube channels, I'm a cybersecurity architect at an academic medical center, which is a functioning hospital, as well as a functioning university. In the architect role, like every day, I'm presented with like all sorts of different odd, strange challenges. Like for example, like, hey, Jerry, like we're going to be collaborating with University of California, and we're going to be sharing this data, and we're going to be doing this research, and we're going to be using this platform. What do you think? Like, so, for me, like, that's okay. Like, let's do it. Like, let's look at the application. Let's look at the network. Let's look at the operating system. Let's look at the user base. Let's look at the interfaces. Let's look at the physical security. Let's look at the agreements in place. Is there data in Europe that needs to be considered for GDPR regulations and stuff like that? So that's what I do. But it really changes. So what I would ask is go look at that list of jobs. Go find one that is like sounds interesting to you, and come back and ask me the question, like, what does an offensive security employee do, or what does a security architect do, or whatever. What is a level 1, tier 1 security operations center analyst do? And we can drill into that. I'd be happy to talk to you about any of that. Of course. So, big data governance fan, one of my primary interests. All right. I wonder whoever wrote that, if you're actually also interested in privacy, since there's a tight tie into that and some of the regulations that's coming out of the West Coast of the US right now. We've got a real estate agent. Do we have any advice with merging cybersecurity and real estate? So that's a good question. When I think about things in cybersecurity that I'm not necessarily familiar with, like this, the first thing I go to is information, right? Because they call it cybersecurity because it sells and it sounds cooler. But like at the end of the day, information security is what the field is, right? And it's protecting the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information. So what I would ask you, real estate agent, is what information is critical to the success of a real estate agent, and what systems are critical to real estate agents, right? So I know MLS, right? So some of these third-party systems are critical. So having access to those would be critical. So making sure that access is protected, which includes like how you protect the accounts to that. If you have, I don't know how important the lists of like your clientele would be, but where you're storing that. I mean, you could set up a little cottage market industry for helping real estate agents protect their data assets. So that's, I guess, just off the cuff, how I would merge cybersecurity and real estate. Hopefully that helps. Especially if you're a real estate agent, you can speak to like the importance of protecting those assets and why you'd want to take the time and money to do that. Would doing a class in C++ be beneficial for anything in cybersecurity? Absolutely. Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, when someone asked about malware analysis, like, oftentimes you will get a piece of malware. You won't know what it does. You'll have to disassemble it and look at the code. And a lot of times, like Ghidra, IDA is like the go-to disassembler for executables or binaries, right? So you use IDA to decompile malware or disassemble malware, excuse me. Well, Ghidra is something the NSA just released, and I haven't used it myself, but I'm pretty sure when you decompile or disassemble in Ghidra, it actually takes like a C-type structure look to it. So if you have experience with C++, that's going to help you be able to kind of read it a little bit better and understand. Again, you don't need to know how to program to be successful in cybersecurity, but if you understand it, you can look at code and you can quickly read it. And by the way, like as far as malware analysis goes, like if you can't read code, you're not going to know what the hell it's doing. Like your best you can do is just drop it in a sandbox, detonate it, and hope that the system tells you what it's doing. So I I would definitely encourage you to check out C++. There's also C++ helps you understand kind of the executables and binaries, but I'd also, if you're going to go as far to learn a programming language, I'd also encourage you to check out Python. That's a very, very popular language for cybersecurity professionals for writing tools and stuff like that. So you can use that skill to kind of enhance your capabilities. Depends on real estate. Oh, so you're all coming up as LinkedIn user to me. So I guess maybe there's names where you guys are, but depends on real estate, IoT, security, home networks, techs everywhere in the home. Oh, that's a good point. So I was thinking about securing real estate as an industry, not as selling to your customers and client base. So whoever the user is that commented on this, great suggestion. The perspective is different. I was thinking of real estate as an industry, emerging that with cybersecurity. So thank you. I'm also moving at like 1,000,000 miles an hour and trying to produce this video at the same time. I'm changing careers because of COVID-19. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jordan. It sucks. I have no work experience in cyber, but a lot of technical knowledge. That's huge. Should I start my own consultancy pen testing company since no one will hire me? No one will hire you. That's interesting. That sucks. So, I mean, the short answer is absolutely. I mean, if you could start a company and get people to hire you to do work, and you feel competent to be able to do that work, you're not grifting them, then hell yeah, do it. Go after it. And I hope the absolute best for you. I will say, since you said pen testing, I'd also like to highlight bug bounties, which is basically finding bugs, like doing pen testing and finding security vulnerabilities, and then coordinating through a third-party platform like HackerOne or Bug Bounty to coordinate with the clientele of whoever it is you found the bug in, and they pay you for finding those bugs. So there's an opportunity there for you to like get a side hustle using those pen testing skills and be able to like, get paid if the consultancy thing kind of starts off slow, right? And, depending on how it goes, you could, it may not matter. You might just crush it in the consultancy, but having those multiple revenue streams is probably going to give you a little bit more comfort. All right. So we've got, let's see, thanks for the Clark link. So thank you for sharing the Clark link. It looks like a lot of people are getting excited about the Clark link. All right. So I don't know if Joseph was the one who shared the link or not, but it looks like those are all the questions. We're down. We went long. We got an hour and a half. Again, I really want to give special thanks to Davina for asking me to do this. I want to give special thanks to all of you for staying with me for this whole live stream and engaging with me. I love this field. I love talking with all of you, and I hope you got value out of this, and I hope you can feel confident getting into cybersecurity. Now you have the tools to understand how to overcome the barrier of not having experience yet. Okay. Looks like we got one last question here from Maloney. What's your idea on the GX SANS certs, GCIS software? So I will tell you that SANS courses are wicked expensive, like $8,000. If you can get your employer to pay for them, go for it. They're excellent. They're really well respected and recognized. Their instructors are top notch, experts in the field. They're just wicked expensive. So if you can get it, get it. They're all good. The SANS ones are good. No, thank you, Davina. You're the best. Yeah, I couldn't see your ID. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just all there. Hey, for anyone that's on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. I accept all comments. DMs are open if that's a thing to say. And I will engage with you. I love talking about this stuff. So hit me up or check out my YouTube channel. I do post content every Monday because I love it. And we'll do that. So Davina asked if I do this every Thursday. I was doing a live stream every Thursday to complement my Monday YouTube video that was produced content. But like with work, I'm actually applying to become a CISO at my employment, and my work commitments and my personal commitments are so heavy at the moment that I'm unable to do the live streams. But this was for NIST Cybersecurity Career Awareness Week. And I've got so much gratitude for what NIST has done for me in my career. So I absolutely had to do this when you asked me. Okay, well, thank you. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. And, take care, and best wishes to all of you.